Okay, I'm in my car. I'm stopped, but I'm gonna start driving and I'm gonna talk. And so I won't be looking at the camera, but maybe you can see me. I don't know. I think it's trying to focus on my stethoscope or something. Alright, so right at this very second, I'm just kind of driving around. That's one of the fun things I do sometimes. I got a new car, well, new to me, but relatively new. It only had like 6,000 miles on it, like right before Christmas. Partly because my vehicle, I drove a Tahoe before. I mean, I still have it, but I don't drive it right now. And it is a beast on gas, and driving back and forth like 3 hours from home to school and home and all of that. Excuse me. It gets really pricey, and not only that, it's just starting to get older, so it was time to upgrade something good on gas and something that wouldn't leave me stranded on the side of the road. Not that my Tahoe would have, but sometimes the older the vehicle, the more likely. So what the heck is going on today? I drive around because it's what I do. I drive a fun little car. I drive a Fiat 500, and my aunt has had Fiat since they came out in 2012, and I used to see hers. I was like, oh, that's a weird looking little car, but whatever. But I saw this one when I was looking, and it's like this like slate gray color. I love gray. It's one of my favorite colors. Green and gray, favorite colors. And it's just like this beautiful, solid, dark gray, and the interior, it's like this cream color, and the steering wheel, it's like a cream leather steering wheel, and it's like, it's a beautiful contrast, and this is like the funnest car I have ever driven. I usually like to sit up high and drive a bigger vehicle. I like to drive SUVs or trucks. However, this car gets me like 40 miles to the gallon, which is amazing. And it's super cute. It's just so cute, and it's it's very tiny. It's not a whole lot of room for stuff, but it's mostly just me and the dog and the cat in here. Although it does seat 4, and it's kind of funny when I put my husband and kids in here. Everybody all squished in. So my car is super fun to drive. So I like to take drives sometimes, just kind of explore, see what there is to see, just drive around, think. I do some of my best thinking sometimes, like while I'm driving or while I'm showering. I have a lot of good ideas while doing those two things. I had an exam this morning. I had a pathology exam this morning, and that is the toughest class for me. That is hands down the toughest class. We have, let me just say, it's a tough class for a lot of reasons. Our professor, I think, is a firm believer in making of information for like whatever that lecture is on, whatever, like information, diseases, whatever. But it's up to us to learn it. And I don't know if I particularly like that, because even though like I don't always love going to class, I like listening to recorded lectures. I'm a visual and an auditory learner about both pretty evenly. So I like to read it, like I like to see it on the screen, but I also like to hear it. And so this is, I mean, and I use Pathoma, and I use Sketchypath, and those help, but sometimes, again, harder questions than are anticipated for the board. Sometimes it can just feel like, oh, this is even more than those things like Pathoma or Sketchypath encompass. And then like after a while when I'm studying, like my biggest problem with Path is it all just blurs together. It's like, oh my god, these are like demyelinating disorders. Well, they all like do this thing. And aside from like MS, they all sound the same. Or like the dementias. And it's like, oh, well, dementia. Cognitive impairments all across the board. And so then after a while, like, you know, they're all different. They all have their own buzzwords. But it just starts to blur together for me. And so then I'm like, sometimes on those exams I know them, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, maybe I can like whittle this down to like 3 different answer choices out of 5. I don't know. Just take a stab at it. Sometimes I feel like that. And I used to be really good, like after I'd take an exam, I used to be really good at anticipating what my grade would be, like based on how I felt on the exam that I just took. I call it my grade DAR. It is, since med school, it is now like dysfunctional. Like I don't have good grade DAR anymore. I used to usually be able to like get my grade within like a 3-point radius, like 3 points above, 3 points below, you know, right there. Now it can be like a 10. I've even had like a 15-point difference in what I thought I did like once. So I feel like I passed today. I felt like that before. I did not. But such is life and path. Alright, what else? What else do I want to talk about? I should be back at class, but I only slept like 3.5 hours last night. Just, you know, went and got some breakfast, just driving around, clearing my head of all the stuff I just learned, crammed in it, decompressing. Then I'm probably gonna go and do dog maintenance, play with the dog, and probably sleep. And then I have a meeting at noon. I'm gonna sleep for maybe a couple hours, maybe an hour and a half, maybe an hour, I don't know. Maybe I'll just lay in my bed and play on Facebook. That's something I've been known to do. So, and then we don't have anything this afternoon. There's no lecture, no lab, anything this afternoon. We're done at 12, thankfully. And a part of me says, oh my gosh, that is prime opportunity for you to get ahead on anatomy, on clinical medicine, on pharmacology. You should be focusing on those 3 things. Like, start planning for next week and, like, you know, the week after that. And then another part of me is like, you just had the week from hell. Your kid was in a really bad car crash last week, and that was a crap show. And then you had 4 exams this week and very little sleep. Like, go see a movie or a comedy show and put study on the back burner. And I'm not very good at making myself do things that I really don't want to do. So there's a very good likelihood, there's like probably a 65 or 70% chance that I'm not going to study this afternoon, and I'm just going to take it off, like take the afternoon off. I'm not going home this weekend. My husband has to work anyway, and my kids are going snow tubing with my mom and my sister, so nobody will be at home for me to visit anyway. So yeah, that's what is happening, and I'll just, stay here, stay with the dog. I'll probably take her to daycare this weekend. Like, I've just had a crazy week this week, and I feel like I haven't been able to give her enough attention and time playing outside, so I'll take her to daycare and she can play with the other pups. She always likes doing that. And study. Maybe I can get myself to study, like maybe I'll study like 3 lectures this afternoon. Maybe that's not a bad goal. Like 3 lectures, and then let myself have the evening off or something. That seems reasonable. However, I'm not always very reasonable. I'm just being honest. Okay. So, talking about this day. That's what's going on right now. I was thinking, earlier while I was driving, I was thinking about, like getting into med school. Oh, my layman's. Alright. Gotta merge. I was thinking about, like, getting into med school. So maybe I'll just, I know, oh my gosh, I am not a fan of Student Doctor Network. I think it's a great resource. It's a wonderful resource. Like, the actual form itself, it's a great idea. However, I just don't like it. It overwhelms me, and it's a lot of people just asking, how do I get into med school? What do I need to get into med school? And it's it's pretty much the same answer, all across the board. Or people, being neurotic and stressing out, this is my MCAT score, this is my GPA, these are my extracurriculars, what are my chances at XYZ schools? And it's kind of a crapshoot. Yes, if everything all across the board is terrifically amazing about you, if you have a great MCAT, good grief, I'm sorry, all my bodily functions, and I'm not even going to edit this video. I'm not. Number one, I don't know how to do it. And number two, ain't nobody got time for that. Taking on mental health drive. How can you expect me to edit? And I don't know how. So there's that. And don't tell me how in the comments, because I don't want to know. What else? Okay. So if everything all across the board is amazing, and you're a nice person, and there's not something glaringly, obviously wrong with you, then you're gonna get it, and probably you're gonna get multiple offers. Okay, so here's just what I did. This is just me, and it's kind of individual for every single person. So I don't know, for people who want to know stuff like that. Alright, so again, I'm a non-traditional student. I'm 35. I had 3 kids. I have a husband. I have a life. I've been working in a field for the last decade. Owned my own business, stuff like that. Alright, I went back to school and got a biology degree. What year is this? It's I graduated in 2017 with my undergrad, so I started in 2013. And I did not go to an amazing school, like, as far as reputation. Like, it's a great school, it's a perfectly fine school, it's just not, like, it does not have an amazing reputation. It's just, like, near my house, it's just super close to my mom's house. I could drop off the little one, and she watched him while the big two were at school. And, yeah, and it was cheap. And I got, like, grants and scholarships to go there, and it was paid for, like, entirely that way. So that's what I did. What else? My GPA, through everything, like, you know, school before, school now, like, everything, my GPA was a 3.5. I don't remember, like, science versus cumulative. I think they were both about the same. I think it was, like, 3.5. I think for both of them. I don't know exactly. I don't remember. And I even failed a class in undergrad. I took calculus, and it was required in my program. And I took calculus, and I could blame it on a lot of things. Ultimately, it was just, I gave up. I felt kind of like defeated. We took our very first exam, and I got the second highest grade in the class, and it was a 66%. Like, the highest grade in the class on the first exam was a 69%, and I was just like, this is unnecessarily difficult. If, like, no one in this class passed it, then I don't think we're all dumb, but maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I am kind of dumb, actually. And then it kind of just kept going like that. And, I don't think that looks very good on a professor for them to, like, fail an entire class. So I think she would have had to have curved it or done something. So I probably would have passed and done just fine. But, like, I just gave up. But I didn't drop the class. I gave up, but didn't drop, stupidly. And, I went to the final, and it was this huge final. I think it was, like, 9 pages. And it was, like, an actual paper test. And, I just looked through it, and I didn't even take it. I just, like, turned it in with my name on it, and I was like, oh, it looks like I just failed. Okay. So that was probably not the best thing I've ever done in my life, and I got an F for that because I didn't drop it. And so that negatively affected my GPA, and, I was super worried about them, like, oh my gosh, I have an F, are they going to take me? Well, they did. So nothing special about my GPA, just a 3.5. At a not super competitive, well-known school, whatevs. As far as MCAT goes, I am not good at studying for things, long-term study. I'm absolutely terrible at it. It goes back to the ADD thing. I do the best I can, whatevs. No one should do this, so I'm not recommending it. I'm just telling you what I do, and I know it's bad, but, like, I am a world-class crammer. Sometimes it works for me, and sometimes it doesn't, but it works enough of the time that I'm where I am now, and I keep doing it, and then I keep, like, worrying about it, and it's like, oh, I didn't give myself enough time for this one, and then, so, sometimes I do fail stuff, and sometimes it doesn't work. But I guess it works enough of the time that that I keep doing it, that I get the results that I want and I keep doing it. But don't do it. Everyone says not to do it, and you know, probably it's not worth it. Like the anxiety that it causes, sometimes it's not worth it. But that's just how I operate. I'm all for like changing and growing and being a better person, but I have to pick my battles. And cramming for things, it's not that. That's not the battle. I don't have that one in me. I'm just gonna do what I do. That's a rainy day. Okay, so I'm not great at studying things over a long course of time. So I studied for the MCAT over 10 days. I tried to use like that, I think it was a like Kaplan 7-book series, I think it was. Like I think I tried to use that, but it was just so much. I took it twice, and I did worse on the second time than I did the first one. But I think for the first time I actually used like Barron's something or another. It's like a big, thick book, and I think it's got like blue and white and maybe yellow or something on the cover. Barron's MCAT, something new MCAT or something. And I just read that book cover to cover, answered the questions in it, and tried to understand if I, like, why did I get this question right? Why did I get this question wrong? Over 10 days, and hoped for the best. And I got a 498, which is not the best. And so there was nothing super special in terms of my numbers. 3.5 GPA, 498 MCAT. And like the sciences on the MCAT are not even my best things. Like my best is the social sciences and cars. I think a lot of people who take the MCAT, like, they complain about cars and they're not good at it, but that actually is what I'm good at. And the sciences, which is, it's like for somebody who wants to be a professional scientist, you'd think that the sciences I would be better at, but it's like, I'm not doing this necessarily because I love science. I think a lot of people, maybe that's why they're like, oh, I love science, I'm really good at science, and I want to help people, so let's be a doctor. I mean, sure, I like science, but I'm not like super passionate about science. Like, yeah, I think it's important. I think it's good to be like scientific, peer-reviewed type stuff, like when it comes to like medical things and research, and do what science says works to help the people. But to me, the people, like that's the like the one-on-one relationships with the people, and then yay science. What else? Oh, there's a big puddle down there, but it's in the other lane. So my numbers were not anything special, nothing special at all, like bare minimum basically. And I'm 35. I'm a non-traditional student. I think what really helped. Good grief. super lot, but I had like 80 hours of shadowing, mostly in family medicine, but I also had, I shadowed an OB, I had shadowed an ER doc, yeah, I think that's it. There might have been, I think that was it, ER, OB, not just for my school, but like where I'm from, there are a lot of colleges around there, and so it was like a group for, the whole like community, like all the different colleges. I did that. For years and years and years, like I've volunteered at my kids' schools, just like going in, teacher appreciation type stuff, odds and ends in their classrooms. I used to coach my kids' soccer teams when they were little, before it mattered that I'm not very good at soccer. What other kind of stuff did I do? I used to be a doula, so I've like been to a lot of births. My weight is ending up here. Gotta get more. I think there's probably other stuff that I put in there, but I had a lot of volunteering, kind of a lot-ish of shadowing. I had good letters of recommendation. I had like any opportunities that I could at school just to like get closer to professors, or like talk to them, or volunteer with them, or work in their lab. I did that. I did some genetics research with some fruit flies. Fun fact about me, I can actually dissect fruit fly testes. Itty bitty, little teeny tiny fruit flies. They're even little itty bittier, tinier testes. I can remove those intact. What else? I volunteered with a professor of mine to, like, kind of, the official title was like TA of his class, but really, like, it was an online class, and mostly I just built this online class for him. He told me what he wanted it to be, and I just like built it for him. I built the quizzes, all that kind of stuff. So I got good letters of recommendations out of things like that, just like volunteering, just like trying to network and get closer to people, and not just because it was like, oh, I want to build my resume. Although everybody knows, let's be honest here, okay? Everybody knows it's part of the process. You have to do it, like build your resume with all this stuff. And it's like, oh, well, that opportunity looked good. Okay, maybe I should go for that. But also, you should do things that like you actually enjoy. It's like, yeah, you got to do this stuff, but like do the ones that you actually care about, not just for like, oh, am I gonna get brownie points for this? No, there are no brownie points in life. Just do what you like, help people, be genuine. Not the singer, although I mean, if you can, that's cool. Be genuine. What else? So I found opportunities to do things like that, and just got to know them, and just talk like I was a real person, and talk to them like they were real people. And I had, good letters of recommendation for things like that. And I had a really good recommendation from shadowing. I think partly because I'm a non-traditional student, like older student, and so I would ask questions about like practical kind of concerns about medicine, things about like how do you balance like your family, like what financial considerations do you need to make, just like life kind of stuff. And I think that impressed that doctor for some reason, and I got a really good letter of recommendation out of that. So just be like a real person, be a grown-up, be yourself, don't be fake, that's gross. story and, not like be overly dramatic about it, but be like, oh, poor little me, and now I'm finally realizing my dream of medicine, but, just tell, like, my real life, and, like, why? Like, just tell your story. Why are you here? What are you hoping to do? And again, like, just be yourself. Don't say things that you think other people want to hear. Maybe it could help you, but it could also hurt you. And so, but being yourself, that could also help you or hurt you. But you're real. Like, this is real, and people appreciate realness. Like, if you can be straight with somebody and they can see, like, who you really are, and this is something you really want, and why, I think that goes a long way. So just tell your story. And of course, like, all the things that people say, like, get your application, like, 2, 3, 4 people to look over it for mistakes. You do not want to send that in with a single mistake. It's like sending in a resume with a mistake, and it's going right in the trash. Like, nobody is going to look at it, because if you say stuff like, I'm really passionate and I have great attention to detail, and it turns out that there are a lot of mistakes, you do not have great attention to detail. File 13, in the trash you go. So have other people look over your stuff. How many schools should you apply for? Like, that's a very Googleable thing. It depends where you live. It depends, I guess, on a lot of things, like what kind of school you want to go to. For me, it was important for me to be within about 5 hours of my house. I was really hoping to get in a school close to my house. That did not happen. So I had to go out a little bit further. And I'm 3 hours away. But I think I applied, I think actually my radius was like 6 hours. I applied to, like, all the schools pretty much within 6 hours of me, except for like a couple of them. And I was like, that's really just not a good fit. So for me, it was a geographic thing. And for most people, I think, unless you're just an amazing applicant in every sense of the word, your best bet is to get into a school where you are. Like, schools like to take their own, like, in their state. So unless you're super amazing on all fronts, you need to be applying definitely where you are. I applied in total to 16 schools. I got interviews at 4 of them. I turned down one of the interviews just because I'd gone to another interview, like, close to there, and I was like, I felt like that one was too far, and this one was even like an hour further, and so I was like, I'm not going to go to that one. So I got 4 interviews, I went to 3 interviews, and then I got 2 acceptances out of that, and I went with the one that was closer. The one acceptance was 3 hours from my house, the other acceptance was like 4 1/4 or something hours from my house. So I chose the closer one. Yeah, I think that's, and for like the interviews and all of these things, it really is just be yourself. Like, just go and be a nice person. And if everything, like, if you get an interview, it means, like, they're seriously considering you, so the odds are in your favor. And if you go, like, just assume that, like, assume that getting an interview is an acceptance if you don't F it up. And if you go and you're just a nice person, an easy person to get along with, like, pleases and thank yous and highs and how are yous, and you genuinely, like, enjoy yourself, and it presentable and, try to be understated and professional. Like, they want it's not a time to probably show, like, a whole lot of your individuality, like, simple, understated, professional kinds of things. And if you just follow that and you are who you are and you let your real person shine through and you know your application inside and out and every bit of it is true, and they won't catch you off guard with anything, like, practice, answering questions, like, do mock interviews with, like, friends, or if you know any doctors, like, have them interview you and ask questions. So just, like, Google, like, a list of med school interview questions, and then, like, just start going through and thinking about, like, your answers to those things. And not because you need to make up some fabulous answer, it's just you don't want to be caught off guard. There are questions that are a whole lot more common than others. Like, this is probably not why I didn't get into the third one that I interviewed at, that I didn't get the acceptance, but I can think of this example. Like, they asked me a question, what was the question? Something like, what would you like us to know that is not on your application? And I was like, what? I put everything I wanted you to know. And I was, like, struggling for an answer, and I was like, I was probably obviously struggling for an answer, and I just, like, pulled something out of my butt and just gave an answer, and I think I struggled for that answer, and that's probably not, like, the only reason why I didn't get in there, but, yeah, just look up, like, questions, and, just have some, just, like, think about it. You don't need to memorize your answers, just, like, just go through it, and so you have, like, a lot of stuff to talk about that goes along with whatever that you said in your application. And don't ever lie about anything on that application. Do not beef up that application. Like, you do not need to do that. You'd be a real person. Like, if there is something on there that is not true, they're, like, professional interviewers that they are gonna, like, sniff it out. The lie that you put in there, the beefy, juicy thing that you put in there, they're gonna find it. So don't do it. Just don't even put yourself through that stress and anxiety of having to be like, oh, is this really, are they really gonna, like, catch me in this? Yeah, just assume that they're going to. Be truthful, be honest, be yourself. Unless you're a terrible human being, and in that case, don't be yourself. Don't be a doctor. So there's that. That's where I'm gonna end that. I think that was I feel like that was a good stopping point. Like, if you can't be yourself because you're a terrible human being, just don't be a doctor. Alright, y'all. Have a good day. I'm gonna go back now and quit driving. I'm gonna pick a spot up here so I can, like, look at my phone and stop safely, turn off my phone, and drive back and go about my lazy-ish day. But really, as always, take care of yourself. This, in all manner of ways, before, during, after. It can be such an anxiety-provoking thing. Either, like, you're worried about all the things on getting in, or, like, once you're actually going through the application process, then you're like, oh my gosh, are these things good enough? As I'm getting in, or, like, whatever. And then even in school, it doesn't stop. The anxiety doesn't stop, because there's still more that you have to do after that. Like, all the things that you had to do for getting into med school. You had to do all of those things and more, like, for residency, and the application process, it just doesn't stop. And, like, you're competing for spaces, and it's like, but just, I'm a firm believer in the things that are supposed to happen will happen. And I also believe that, like, even if something is not the right thing, like, I can make it the right thing. And I'm not gonna say that I don't stress about things. I do. Like, sometimes I'm a worrywart. My mother would tell you that, like, I'm a super worrywart, which is not true. She just doesn't worry about anything ever. Mom. But deep down in my heart of hearts, I know that things will work out. And if I can just put all the dumb little fears and worries and anxieties and aside, everything always does work out. And if you just take kind of like a lighthearted approach to it, and I mean, it's not like a lighthearted process, not at all, but just don't take yourself too seriously. Nobody else does. Don't take yourself so seriously. Have as good a time as you can in the process, and if it's supposed to work out, it will work out, and if it doesn't, then it's gonna sting in that moment, but you will find the thing that you are supposed to do, and life goes on, and everything just works out the way that it is supposed to. Alright, this is like a super long video. I am apparently starting my own TV show here. I'm very long-winded. Good grief. Anyway, so I've wasted a lot of time. I need to go back, dog maintenance, take a nap. I've cleared my head of all the things. Now I can be at peace with whatever that grade is for that exam I just took this morning. As always, take care of yourself. Peace.